Hello everyone, this is Leah Whitehorse from Astrology, and today I'm going to be talking to you about this full moon in Capricorn that is going to occur on the 9th of July in universal time. It'll be 4:06 a.m, so that's 5:06 in the UK. I will leave a link below so that you can convert that into your time zone so you know when it is for you. Now, Capricorn is a cardinal earth sign. So earth means that it is concerned with practical matters, and cardinal does give this sense that it's a very ambitious energy. Cardinal energy goes out there, it pushes for what it wants. So with Capricorn, we are thinking of things to do with career, we are thinking of responsibilities, we're thinking of our public face, because Capricorn is associated with the 10th house, the most public part of the chart. It's concerned with respect and respectability. It's also concerned with systems, with convention, with doing things in a conservative, sometimes old-fashioned way. Capricorn is also associated with rules, and having strict structures in place from which you can work from. And sometimes, we need to have certain structures in place to work from. They give us a certain sense of security and stability. Capricorn is very much focused on stability. Capricorn is symbolized by the sea goat. So the sea goat has the tail of a fish, which suggests that this sign is emotional. It is connected to its emotions. But above, the goat half doesn't show those emotions. The goat is very much focused on climbing the mountain. You kind of think of how a goat climbs up a mountainside on those craggy little rocks and manages to maneuver itself onto these tiny ledges, to get to the top. So it's concerned with getting to the top, with getting to the summit. And it's kind of interesting that we have this G20 summit that is now occurring with the meeting of all these world leaders. And this full moon is conjunct Pluto. Very, very powerful. Pluto is about power. Pluto is potency. And so we have a kind of literal representation of what is going on with this full moon occurring here on planet Earth, with the meeting of all these authorities, those that are in charge of our system. Capricorn is also about the systems. It's also the structure that we have to society, and these powerful leaders with Pluto involved here. Now, of course, what has happened is that there has been all this unrest, all this violence, and Pluto is also about that as well. The people, which is symbolized by the moon, the people in mundane astrology, are feeling as though things are out of control, and this is also Pluto as well. Pluto makes us aware of what is and isn't in our control. Pluto is about irrevocable change, and at worst Pluto is about death. So we are coming face to face with those things that we are unable to change, or we don't have the authority to change, or that we desire to change, but it's going to take a great deal of self-control in order to be able to do these things. So Pluto conjunct this full moon is incredibly potent. It's incredibly potent, and I imagine that we will see the extremes of this energy. I mean, we're already seeing it with the clashes that have been happening because of this G20 meeting. So there are extremes of feelings. And so if we bring it back to ourselves and our personal experience, it's watching for where we are inclined to catastrophize, because Pluto, because he's about extremes, can sometimes make us feel as though it's all or nothing. It's either black or white, it's got to be this or that, and there's no grey area, there's no in between. So it's important to be aware of where we are inclined to do that, where we're inclined to see things in very extreme terms, because that can put a great deal of pressure on us. Pluto is like pressure, you know. I often describe Pluto transits when I'm doing client work, kind of like when somebody treads on your foot who's wearing a stiletto shoe. It can feel like that, you know. Pluto puts this incredible pressure on one particular spot in your psyche. Right now, the pressure is on our emotions. Now, another reason why this moon is very potent and passionate is that the moon is opposed to Mars. So Mars is our inner warrior, and he's very direct. He's very passionate too. You know, he has desires and he's going to go for them. He is direct action. And again, we can see that this has been happening in the current protests that have been occurring because of this summit. So Mars is taking direct action. And he is on the defensive anyway, because he is in the sign of Cancer, which is associated with defense. And also Mars is kind of like antagonizing this chart. Mars is firing things up. He's heating and inflaming the situation. So along with Mars, then, we also have Jupiter involved in the mix. Now, Jupiter is usually a nice guy. Jupiter, especially in Libra, is Mr. Nice Guy. But Jupiter also has the ability to magnify what he touches. So we've got this T-square action going on with the Sun opposite the Moon, square to Jupiter, and then the Moon conjunct Pluto, the Sun conjunct Mars, and the Moon square to Jupiter. And basically all of these configurations mean that there is this huge tension. We want change. This is Pluto. We want transformation. There are certain things in the system that we want to eliminate. In our own lives too, we're looking at what we need to eliminate for things to function at a better level, to be able to manifest what we need to manifest in our lives and what we want to manifest. Maybe we're feeling that our goals, Mars, are out of reach until we deal with these immediate problems that are causing pressure on us. But again, they feel quite overwhelming because Jupiter is magnifying the influence of Pluto. Maybe too, we have to, on a personal level, look at the judgment calls that we're making, look at the judgments that we're making, this is Jupiter, and look at the beliefs that we have that are running the show. You know, sometimes our belief system is going to inform us on how we act next and what we do next. And that can be very positive if we have a positive mindset and a positive belief system, or it can be very destructive if our belief system is kind of working against us and we're sort of not in a positive space, we're not in a good space within ourselves, that we're being very harsh judges of ourselves. I think one of the difficulties that we may be dealing with during this moon is the concept of scarcity. And this is because of the Sabian symbols that really jumped out at me, as well as the pattern of the planets themselves. The moon is on the Sabian symbol. The Union Jack the Union Jack flag flies from a British warship. It's never easy to say that one. The Union Jack flag flies from a British warship. Okay, so we already have this sense that we're on the defensive. We're on the defensive. And the flag flying suggests that there are certain standards that people are looking up to or honouring or working with. But we've definitely got some idea going on about defensiveness. You know, the warship isn't necessarily doing anything. It's not firing its guns. It's just there with its flag flying. But it's very present. We notice it's there, you know, we can't miss it. Now, Saturn, the ruler of this lunation, is on the Sabian symbol a group of immigrants as they fulfill the requirements of entrance into the new country. This has been a huge issue whilst Saturn has been moving through Sagittarius, this whole denial and the blocking of borders. Sagittarius is normally a very open sign, it's a very welcoming sign, it's a fire sign, it's enthusiastic, it's happy, it loves new places and new faces and loves to experience different cultures. And then Saturn comes along and says, no, I draw the line here. This is my boundary line. You do not cross this line. And so Saturn has been incredibly difficult as many people obviously are trying to flee from very troubled lands. So we've got Saturn now really focusing on the issues that are connected with immigration and the flow of people moving from one country to another. And also then we've got the moon itself focusing on defending the land, kind of like Mars in Cancer is also defending the land. And then the sun is on the Sabian symbol, a hen scratching the ground to find nourishment for her progeny. And this really brings up the idea of sort of scratching out a living, the toughness of life at the moment, that a lot of people are feeling as though it's very difficult to get what they need. And then, of course, the media and so on is focusing the attention on the movement of peoples between countries to deflect attention away from the powers that be with the moon conjunct powerful Pluto. I also notice as well in this chart, unconnected to the moon, but Ceres, the mother goddess, the goddess of the grain, she is actually on the 29th degree of Gemini. This is an anaretic critical degree, and Gemini is all about communication. So it's very important that there is some kind of discussion, there is a dialogue, a critical dialogue about Mother Earth. And of course, climate change is a very important issue that is being brought up for contemplation, for hopeful discussion at this G20 summit. So what is going on out there in the world right now is very reflective of the astrology. Again, coming back to ourselves, our own personal lives, it's looking at what is sustaining us. This is Ceres. It's looking at where we are fighting a losing battle sometimes, and this can be trying to fight things out there in the world, or it can be trying to fight things within ourselves that just need a sort of better resolution. It may be that we're needing to eliminate certain aspects of ourselves, certain belief systems, again with Jupiter, that are holding us back from manifesting everything that we desire. There is also a lovely little sort of relief point in this chart, which is connecting to Neptune. So basically we've got a Moon-Neptune sextile. And what this suggests is, although we've got all of this quite warring charts going on that is really concerned with people not having enough, and there's not enough to go round, and therefore we've got to hang on to what we have and don't share, you know, just kind of get on with it by yourself. And it's very divisive. It's a very divisive chart. Neptune is actually the little quiet whisper within that's saying, maybe there are other ways of dealing with these perceived problems. Maybe it's just about being more compassionate. Maybe it's about being more kind. Maybe we can be more charitable towards ourselves as well as towards others. Maybe it's about listening to our intuition and using our imagination more in order to solve some of these perceived problems. Now, Saturn is also in a sort of awkward quincunx to Mars. Mars is again about our drive and wanting to take action and goals and movement, quick movement, whereas Saturn is very slow. And when Mars and Saturn get together in an aspect, I call it the driving with the brakes on kind of aspect, because you feel like you can't move forward very quickly. Something is in the way, something is slowing you down, and maybe that's necessary at this point in time. Maybe we need to move more slowly because this is a very volatile chart. So what I would say is that in your life, if you're experiencing a great deal of pressure, Pluto, a very strong desire to act with Mars, and with Jupiter, a desire to create something better for the future, and you're just feeling I've got to do something now, but something is stopping you, Saturn, then just pay attention to what it is that is stopping you, what it is that's trying to hold you back, because maybe it's necessary to hold your horses at the moment because the chart is so volatile. The thing is with this chart is that anything that is eliminated now, it's almost like that's it is gone, it's not going to come back. So this is why we perhaps need to be mindful of the changes that we're making during this period. There's nothing wrong at all with making, concrete decisions at this full moon if you need to, but it is simply about being mindful of what those decisions are, and that they may well be, that is the end. There is no going back on that decision. And if you're comfortable with that, if you're good with that, then great. It also can mean that we can tap into this great strengths. This is the thing with Mars and Pluto, that they are incredibly powerful, incredibly courageous, incredibly brave, And also Jupiter again is kind of extending on that, saying, yes, we can build better relations. We can develop better relations if we're braver. What's important during this full moon is playing to our strengths. It's formidable, the energy that is available here, but we can turn it into our favour. The best way to do this is to focus on what is in your control and forget about the rest. If it's not in your control, there really is no point trying to sort of batter it down. You can't do that with Mars opposite Pluto. If Mars keeps trying to confront Pluto, all that's going to happen is Mars is just going to get really tired. He's just not going to win. And that's what we need to sort of realise. If there are situations going on in your life where you can't win because you can't control that situation, and particularly you can't control that person, then it's about bringing it back to yourself and looking at what can I control in my life now, and take action from there. Saturn, although he is in this quincunx with Mars, which is awkward, he is also still trying to Uranus. So this is very much about slow, that's Saturn, progress, Uranus. So slow progress is okay. It probably doesn't feel like that, again, because Mars likes everything to happen yesterday. But slow progress is better than no progress. This full moon is also about purging what no longer works for you. And if you can purge what no longer works for you, then that releases your inner warrior, that releases Mars. So you are more clearly able to define your goals. And it releases energy as well, because sometimes we are spending so much time and energy on those things that aren't actually important to us anymore, or we shouldn't have the responsibility for anymore, because Capricorn also is very dutiful and sometimes takes on responsibilities that aren't necessary. So this is a time of purging, and this is also perhaps why it's a challenging moon, because with the sun in Cancer, which is very, very focused on belonging, we can be inclined to hold on to things. We can be inclined to just want to keep everything the same because it's safe. So at this lunation, don't be afraid to let go. Know what you're fighting for. Purge what is no longer necessary. And know what is in your control. I hope you found this video helpful, and I wish you many blessings for this full moon.